Hey guys, how are you? It has been a week since I have been able to upload a video. Our whole family has come down with COVID. The kids came home from camp and they had contracted it from one of the kids in their cabins. And then I got it a few days later, and then James got it a few days later. So we've been stuck in isolation, but we are on the mend and hopefully going to be out of isolation and back in action in a few days. Okay, so James and I have gotten out of the house with all our COVID germs. We are staying in the car and we're still isolating technically, but we've come to the parking lot. So we've still got a few days of isolation. We've still got about 3 days, eh?
Yeah.
Is it?
Monday we come out.
So James got the job in Wellington.
Yes.
Eh?
Which is good news, but it's a complicator as well, eh?
Yeah. Well, it's great news because we want to move to Wellington, but now we have to move.
Which is work.
Which is work. We know the work that's got to go into getting a house prepped and selling it and buying a house. But we've come down here because we want to have a conversation with our kids, right? You mentioned that Emma's got big ideas about how, you know, we'll be down there in a month.
In a week.
In a week.
Not just down there, but like sold our house, boarding the house and moved there in a week. So we've got to manage that expectation and give her a timeline. And
she knows we've got to do the renovations that we're doing and finish upgrading. There's 2 more rooms to do in the house that we would like to do. And she said, oh, that'll only take you a week or so. She just wants to move because she's ready for change. I think she's done majority of her schooling here, although because we're military, we have moved away a couple of times and come back. But she's always maintained her friendships here, and she's topping out the end of high school. She's not quite there yet. Regan, I think, is really cruisy. Like, he doesn't care when it happens. He's doing university online for now. He didn't have a flat situation worked out, and it's far too expensive to flat down in Wellington. And we knew that we were potentially moving down, so he just started online. And so many of them are working online now because of COVID. Even his friends who are in Wellington are doing some of their papers online. So it's working out fine for him. He's not fussed about when we move. So we're just trying to work out a game plan for how we're going to do it. James's new job starts on the 1st of June, which is in less than a month.
Yeah, and that's just the technical start date, because it'll start ramping up before then. So it's tricky transition, because the job transition's going to be quite busy. Plus we need to prep our house for sale. Plus we need to look at buying another house further down south. Yeah,
so it's going to mean a lot of transporting back and forwards from Wellington area to Palmy. That's fine. It's just a lot of time away from home when we really need to be at home finishing these renovations.
And we only just got the news the last couple of days, so still sinking in a bit.
We're pretty happy that he got the job. It's a huge relief. We know that this job he's going into is going to be a 6-year posting. It's just nice to know that you're moving somewhere and it's going to have longevity. Usually over the last, I mean, he's been in the military for 15 years and we've moved every 2 to 3 years. This has been our longest posting here. And the only way that we have stayed here is because there's multiple camps here. There's an Air Force and an Army.
There's an Army camp and there's an Air Force base, and being my role in the military as a chaplain, I can work at either. So it means that although I got posted, the family didn't have to shift, so it's a real win. It's been a real win. Yeah,
it's been awesome. It's just meant that we've been able to stay here, which has been great because it saw the kids majority through their high school years.
It has been a good place to raise our family,
Palmy's been a really easy city.
It is, and with any shift, although I'm looking forward to the shift, there's a lot about this place I'll miss, and it's very comfortable.
We're looking forward to the shift, but there's always the transition of saying goodbye and being extracted from somewhere. I remember years ago a woman telling me about how you're a tree and you're being replanted. Imagine digging up a tree and the spade goes in and roots get cut, and then the tree gets lifted out and all the soil and all the things that have been on the base of the tree get all removed, and so the roots feel exposed. So you feel quite vulnerable, and then you get planted in a new place and you feel like you don't quite fit, and then once the soil has grown around you a bit and it's all been a bit more embedded and the roots start to grow and to take, and you start to actually feel like you're being fed again and you can come alive. That doesn't happen overnight, and we know that because we've had to move multiple times in the last 15 years. Well, in the last 20 years, I don't know how many times we've moved in our married life, and so that process is quite daunting. And yet we're kind of like ready to take it on. Would you agree? Can you relate to that?
Yeah, it is. And it's different for families. Like in the military, if I get posted from one base or camp to another, I've got my role, I've got my peer network, and other people are posted around, so it's not, the change isn't as great for me. But for Wendy and for the kids, it's a much bigger change for them, because school communities change, everything changes. So it is a big transition. So this one though, the win for us is it's closer to our extended family. So this ship's got a few advantages.
It has got a few advantages, and there's, it's not like we're moving to a place that's completely foreign to us. We have lived in Wellington. We did 6 years down there when the kids were really small. We did 3 years working for a church, and then we did 3 years in the military. That's when James first started working for the military. But anyway, we've done a placement down in Wellington, so we know the area, and because we've had family down there, we've visited so often since. But now we're going to move back. It's all very exciting, but
it changes, eh?
Changes.
What's the biggest thing you're worried about, you think? What's the biggest thing on your mind?
Where we're going to live.
Yeah.
And I also know that God's got it. Like, James was going for this job, and it took nearly a month for them to let him know whether he had it or not. There was a few other candidates, and
had to interview for it, so that I was competing against other people for the same position.
It was last week, and I was thinking, why is it that if we want something, we think that God's going to take it away sometimes, or he's not going to give it? And yet it was last week I was thinking, no, if it's the desire of our heart for us to move to Wellington and to be settled, then why wouldn't God give us that? And why is it such a surprise to me that he got the job?
Really? You're surprised?
No, I wasn't surprised that you got the job. It was almost like I kept thinking it was going to be something that God was going to say, like, no, you really wanted it, but I want you to suffer a little bit more and earn it. Oh, it's just this twisted way that you think about God and how he provides, and you think that you've got to do something to...
Well, is it hard to get your head around that he actually does work in our favour? Like really is working in our favour. There's so many things going on in the world. How does he care about us? But we're often surprised that the God of the universe, who must be concerned about the war in the Ukraine, the refugees in Afghanistan, like all the big, the earth warming up, and but he still is interested in our lives in Palmerston North, New Zealand, worried about a job, but he's big enough to be interested.
I think about people that are asking God for things that are far more important, and they don't get it, like, please heal my daughter. Please look after my family, and still disasters and tragedies happen, I think.
To good people too, eh? I mean, it does build our faith too, that one day we might have to trust him through a real hard situation, and we have lived through a few tragedies as a couple, right? And we've had to lean on God in difficult times. I mean, the thing I worry about the most, I think, is the effect on family, and in particular our youngest, who's still at high school. She's super keen for the adventure, but we temper it knowing that she's still young and probably doesn't really understand what it's going to mean. The saying goodbye to friends, making new friends, going to a new school, it is a big deal for someone her age. That's on my mind a lot with the shift anyway, is how that's going to affect our youngest. My daughter-in-law actually said, isn't it a blessing that Emma is so excited about the move? We could easily have a teenager who was, how can you do this to me? You're wrecking my life, you're ruining my friendships. But we don't. We have a teenager who's like, get me on to trade me, let's get a house and get moving next week.
She's kind of annoying me, because she's like scrolling through all these houses, like, $1.5 million, price by negotiation. Like,
look at this place.
Is a nice
this is great.
Have a look. I'm like,
$2.2 million. It's like, I'm not the chief of defence force, honey.
I really like this one.
Anyway, so I take a bit of comfort that she's actually keen to move, and we're just going to help her navigate it and do it as a family. And that's what we've tried to do the whole way along, with all our postings, with all the deployments, the bits and pieces we've been through. We've worked hard to bring our family along with us, on the journey.
What do you reckon a good time frame is for what we've got to do? Like, you start on the 1st of June. Do you reckon we'd be able to get the renovations done by the end of June?
We have to do a list of what's essential and what's nice to have, and we also need to talk with the real estate agent about what they think we should do as well, like take their advice too. So there's a few steps in the way, but I think a 3-month time frame is realistic. In order to sell the house, at a minimum, it's the decluttering, hallway, lounge room painted, and laundry painted, at a minimum, right?
Minimum.
If we prep the house this month for sale next month, We'll have to meet with Lindsay next week.
Have you talked to her though?
I've contacted her and said we're selling, and she's got back and said, look, when's a good time to meet then? I'll come round and do an appraisal and have a talk to you guys.
Well, can we see what we can head out? The camera cut out and we drove home. So we're home now. Hello. Do you think I brought you snacks? Nope, it's a coffee. You don't like the coffee. So I'm home, but I'm still a bit unwell. And I have to take it easy because if I don't, I'm just going to stay unwell. So I'm just going to not stress too much about all the stuff that we've got ahead of us. So this is the state of our hallway, and James is going to continue working on this today. He's going to do the replacement underlay for the carpet, and he's going to do all the light fittings. I have to organise new light fittings for the ceiling. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 in this hallway area, and we're going to move straight on into the lounge and get that done. So we have a loose plan in our minds, but in actual fact it doesn't always work out the way you plan, and so we're keeping the plan. What do you call it? We have a plan, but we're remaining open to things changing. But we do have an idea of what we need to do, but we're just not quite sure the time frame of it. We're just going to do our best, and it's going to have to be enough. I think my biggest thing is now getting each room prepped to sell, so that's going to be my focus. James will do a lot of the grunt kind of big projects, painting and the carpet, and like the super tub in our laundry, we've got a new one that needs to be replaced. He's going to do things like that, and I'm going to be doing all the finishings, the light fittings, the art, curtains, bedding, plants, garden, just kind of the look of the place. And unfortunately it's probably going to look how we would want it to look if we were living here, but we never got to it while we were living here. It's just taken this long, but it'll be nice to know that we're leaving it how we like it. Living room, paint, carpet, underlay, mantle, shelving, and also in there is going to have to be the windows. For me it's going to be living room, seating, cushion. What to do with that, art, question mark, garden, plant, veggies, ASAP. And then you got the laundry, shelving,
Sink,
tub installed. Oh, remove wall, eh? Repaint. And spare toilet. Repaint. So I've just made this list, and James isn't freaking out at all.
Not at all.
He's cool as a cucumber. This was part of the stress of not knowing whether he had the job or not, because if he didn't get the job, we didn't have to worry about any of this. So we were working on it, but there wasn't any time pressure. But if he did get the job, there was going to be time pressure. And now that he has got the job, the time pressure has just like come up to here. So we've got a vast list and limited resources in time, energy, money, all those things.
Just going to do our best, eh? And try not to get overwhelmed, so just one thing at a time. That's where the list helps, right?
Yeah.
We can just do one thing at a time off the list, and helps with the feelings of overwhelm.
I mean, looking at the list can make you feel quite overwhelmed, but you also can look at that list and prioritise from it. And I've got the list of things that are a want that I will do if I've got time. Have you got a priority for yours, you reckon? You got a few question marks on some of your stuff?
Just work my way through it. Although the fence I'm going to put at the bottom, so I think I'm going to do the internal stuff first, then start worrying about the outside things.
So, thank you for joining us as we navigate this first stage of moving, and so wish us luck, and we will see you in the next video with what progress we're up to. Until next video, bye for now.